He broke her heart when success blinded him. But what happens when he loses it all and fights to win back the woman he once left behind? Stay tuned, because you are about to watch a beautiful story filled with love, redemption, and faith. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Bichali. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Tom sat alone in his shop, long after the sun had gone down. The once busy street was now quiet, and the lights inside his shop flickered softly. The room was filled with shelves of phone accessories, new gadgets, and electronics, but it all felt empty. Since Hannah hung up the phone, Tom had lost all sense of peace. He couldn't eat properly. He couldn't sleep. He went to work, served customers, smiled politely, but inside, he was broken. Everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of her. The corner where she used to sit and sort his products. The wall where she once helped him hang up his first banner. The chair where she sat and waited for him every evening just to talk and encourage him. And now she was gone. The letter he had written to her sat in his wallet. He read it every night, but reading it wasn't enough anymore. "I need to see her," he whispered to himself one night. "Even if she never forgives me, I need to look her in the eyes and say I'm sorry." That night he prayed. Not for business, not for money. He prayed for strength. The next morning, Tom closed his shop. He told his assistant he would be gone for some days. He packed a small bag, just clothes, a notepad, and the letter, and locked the shop behind him. He didn't even know where to start. All he had was a name, Ayatoro. One of Hannah's old church friends had mentioned the town when he was searching for her. She said she wanted to be far from everything, the friend had said. A quiet place to find peace. Tom didn't know the exact address. He didn't know anyone there. But he didn't care. He would search every house if he had to. He filled his tank, checked his tires, and set off on a long road trip, not just across towns, but through pain, regret, and hope. The journey wasn't easy. At one point, the weather changed. The road became muddy and rough. He had to slow down. In a small village, his car broke down completely. He had no choice but to spend the night at a mechanic shed. He lay on a wooden bench, staring at the ceiling, listening to crickets outside. He thought about the days he and Hannah sat outside his old apartment, talking about their future. He remembered how she looked at him when he had nothing, with pride and peace in her eyes. And then he remembered the moment he told her she was too simple. Tom turned on his side and covered his face. "God," he whispered, "give me one more chance. I don't deserve her, but I want to make it right." The next day, the car was fixed, and he continued the journey. He asked people for directions. Some didn't know Ayatoro. Some pointed him to the wrong roads. But finally, after hours of driving, he saw a wooden sign by the roadside. "Welcome to Ayatoro, a town of peace." Tom's heart beat fast. He had made it. The town was small and quiet. Children played on the roadside. Women sold vegetables under umbrellas. Old men sat on benches, talking and laughing. It was exactly the kind of place Hannah would go, simple, peaceful, far from the noise. Tom parked his car and stepped out, dust covering his shoes. He didn't know where she lived, but he was ready to walk the whole town if that's what it took. He asked the first person he met, a young girl carrying a basket of oranges. "Excuse me, please. I'm looking for someone. Her name is Hannah." The girl thought for a moment. "I don't know her." He tried again. House after house, shop after shop. No one seemed to know. Until, finally, he reached a small tailoring shop by the roadside. A few dresses hung outside on a line. The place felt familiar. He looked closely at one of the dresses. It was plain, soft-colored, simple. Exactly the kind Hannah used to wear. He stepped in. An older woman sat behind a sewing machine. She looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon." "Good afternoon, Ma. Please, I'm looking for someone. Her name is Hannah. Someone told me she might be in this town." The woman looked at him carefully. "Hannah? You mean the quiet lady from the city?" Tom's heart raced. "Yes." "Please, do you know her?" The woman nodded slowly.
She helps me sometimes.
Stays down the road. Why are you looking for her? I need to make something right. She looked at him for a moment, then pointed down the dusty road. Third house on the left. Brown door. Tom didn't wait. He thanked her and walked quickly down the road. His heart beat faster with every step. Third house, brown door. He stopped in front of it,
Took a deep breath.
raised his hand, and knocked. After a few moments, the door creaked open. And there she was. Hannah. She looked just the same, but quieter, calmer. She wore a plain gown, and her hair was tied back. She blinked when she saw him, confused at first. Then her expression changed. Her eyes filled with something he couldn't describe, surprise, sadness, and something deeper. Tom, she said softly.
He couldn't speak.
His throat was tight. His chest felt heavy. He dropped his bag and fell to his knees. Hannah, he said, voice breaking. I came for you. She stared at him, unmoving. I'm not asking you to take me back, he said quickly. I just need you to hear me.
I'm sorry.
I was blind. I was proud. I chose noise over peace. And I hurt the only person who truly loved me. The street was quiet. Tom stayed there on his knees, waiting. Hannah stood at the door, her hands by her side, her face unreadable. Finally, she stepped back and opened the door wider. Come in, she said quietly. And just like that, a new chapter began. Tom stepped into Hannah's home slowly, unsure of what to expect. It was a small, two-room apartment, neat and simple, just like her. The living room had a wooden chair, a small table, and a curtain that separated it from the sleeping area. There were no fancy decorations, just a few pictures of Bible verses on the wall and a folded mat in the corner. The air smelled of fresh fabric and soft perfume.
Peace lived in this place.
Sit, Hannah said, pointing to the only chair. She herself sat on the edge of the bed across the room. Tom sat quietly, trying to steady his heartbeat. For a few moments, silence filled the space. Then Hannah spoke, her voice calm but firm. You found me. Tom nodded slowly. I didn't stop searching. I asked everyone I could. Why? She asked, looking directly at him. Tom swallowed. Because I need to make things right. Hannah looked away.
You broke me, Tom.
Not just with what you did, but how you did it. You changed. I know, he said quickly. And I hate the person I became. I thought success would fill the hole inside me. I was wrong. Hannah looked down at her hands. I gave you everything I had. I stood by you when you had nothing. But when things got better, you forgot me. I didn't forget, Tom said softly. I got lost. Her eyes met his again, and for a moment, her strong expression softened. Did you love her? Emily? No, he said without hesitation. I thought I did, but it was excitement, not love. I see that now. And what do you want from me now, Tom? She asked. Forgiveness.
No, he said.
I want your peace of mind. I want you to know I regret everything I did to you. I'm not asking for anything, just a chance to make things right, even if I have to start from far away. There was a long silence between them. Outside, the breeze rustled the leaves. A child laughed somewhere down the street. You think it's that easy? Hannah finally said. You show up, say sorry, and everything goes back to normal?
No, Tom said.
I know it's not. That's why I'm not going back to the city. I'm staying here, Hannah. Even if you never want to see me again, I'll be here. I'll earn back your trust.
Day by day.
Slowly. Hannah stared at him, unsure of what to say. Tom reached into his bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was worn out and bent at the corners. I wrote this the night you ended the call. It's the only thing I've read every day since then. He placed the letter on her table and stood up. I'll go now, he said. I've said what I needed to say. The rest is in your hands. He turned to leave, but Hannah called out softly. Where will you stay? I'll find a place, he replied. Somewhere close. She nodded slowly. Tom walked out of the house, his heart beating heavy, but lighter than before. At least now, the wall of silence between them had a crack. Later that day, Tom found a small room to rent on the other side of the town. It was nothing special, a narrow space with a hard bed and a ceiling fan that worked only when the power came on. But Tom didn't care. He was exactly where he needed to be. He got a job helping at the tailoring shop where Hannah volunteered. The same hands that once fixed phones now folded wrappers, swept the floor, and ironed clothes. People in town stared at him curiously. Some whispered. Some laughed. But he didn't explain. He just worked. Every morning, he passed by Hannah's house on his way to the shop. Sometimes she waved. Sometimes she didn't. But she always saw him. And he always showed up. He kept his distance. He didn't rush her. He gave her space. In the evenings, he sat by the roadside and watched the sun go down, notebook in hand, writing letters he never sent. Letters about regret, about growth, about the things he now understood too late. One evening, as he closed up the shop, Hannah walked in quietly. He looked up in surprise.
Hi, she said.
Hi, he replied, nervous. I read your letter, she said softly. Every word. Tom said nothing. He waited. You've changed, Tom, she said, eyes on his. I can see it. Tom nodded. And maybe, she continued, voice uncertain, maybe I haven't completely stopped loving you. But I need time. I'll give you all the time you need, he said, his voice steady. Even if it takes years. She gave him a small, tired smile, the first real one in a long time. Then maybe you can walk me home today, she said. Tom stood there for a moment, unsure if he heard right. Then he nodded. I'd be honored. And they walked side by side down the quiet road, not holding hands, not making promises, just walking. But sometimes, that's how healing begins. The walk from the tailoring shop to Hannah's house was quiet, but not awkward. Tom didn't speak much. He didn't try to impress her with words or force a conversation. He simply walked beside her, step by step, grateful for the moment. It wasn't just about walking her home, it was about walking back into her world, slowly, gently, one moment at a time. When they reached her gate, she paused. Thank you, she said softly. Tom gave a small nod. Thank you for letting me. Hannah opened the gate, stepped inside, and closed it gently behind her. She didn't invite him in, and he didn't expect her to. This was progress, and he respected it. As Tom walked back to his rented room under the dim streetlights, he smiled faintly to himself. It was just a walk, but to him it felt like a mountain had moved. In the following weeks, Tom continued working at the tailoring shop. He had become a familiar face in Ayatoro. Some still gave him side glances, unsure of why a city man was ironing clothes and carrying bundles of fabric, but most people slowly began to accept him. He never brought up the past unless Hannah did. And when they spoke, it was always with honesty, never pressure. Sometimes they sat at the shop's back porch after closing time. They talked about the town, about simple things, how the rain had fallen the night before, or how the shop owner's baby had learned to walk. One evening, as the sky darkened and the air grew cooler, Hannah surprised him with a question. Tom, when did you realize you truly lost me? Tom looked at her for a long moment before answering. The night you ended the call. She looked down. I cried that night, she whispered. Not because I missed you, but because I had finally accepted that you were gone. Tom's eyes stung. I cried too, but not for the same reason. I cried because I realized I had pushed away the one person who stood beside me when I had nothing. He sighed deeply. I wasn't just proud, Hannah. I was empty. I thought the cars, the clothes, the lifestyle would make me feel important, but it all felt like dust in my hands. Hannah stayed quiet, processing his words. Then she said, Do you remember what I told you before I left? Tom nodded slowly. You said you loved me for who I was, not what I had. She looked at him. And now that you have nothing flashy again, are you sure you still love me? Or is it guilt? I love you, he said without hesitation. And I would still love you if you had nothing, because now I know that's the kind of love you gave me. Her eyes welled up, and she turned away slightly, blinking fast. I'm scared, she said quietly. I understand, Tom replied. I don't expect your heart to heal overnight. I just want to be here, walking beside you. Even if I'm just your friend for now. Hannah nodded. Then we'll take it one step at a time. From that day forward, their bond began to grow again, but slowly. Tom continued to prove himself, not just with words, but with actions. He helped around the town, painting the church walls, fixing broken chairs at the school, carrying water for elderly neighbors. He wasn't doing it for show. He was doing it because he wanted to be a better man. Hannah noticed everything. She saw the way he no longer sought attention, the way he listened more, spoke less, and treated everyone with kindness. One Sunday morning, she invited him to join her at church. He wore a simple shirt and sat beside her on the wooden pew, just like the old days. When the choir sang, he didn't sing loud. He just closed his eyes and whispered a prayer in his heart. "Thank you for bringing me back here." After the service, a few people greeted him warmly. Others nodded with polite respect. Tom didn't expect more than that. He was just happy to be walking in the right direction again. That evening, as they sat outside Hannah's house under the stars, she handed him a wrapped parcel. "What's this?" he asked, surprised. "Open it." He unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a hand-sewn shirt, simple, clean, and his exact size. "I made it," she said, looking at him. "Thought you could wear it next Sunday." Tom held the shirt close, his voice trembling. "Thank you. This means more than you'll ever know." She smiled just a little. "I know." And for the first time in a long time, they both sat in silence. Not broken silence, not heavy silence, but peaceful silence. Something had shifted. The wall between them was beginning to fall. Tom held the shirt Hannah gave him like it was made of gold. It wasn't expensive, but to him it was priceless. Every stitch in the fabric was a sign. Hannah was healing. She was letting him in, slowly, carefully, but surely. That week, Tom wore the shirt to church. It fit perfectly. As he sat beside Hannah during the service, a few people turned to smile at them. Some nodded in approval. Others simply noticed the peace between them. After the service, they didn't rush home. They stayed behind, helping to arrange chairs and clean up. It reminded them of the early days before things got complicated, before the world tried to pull them apart. Later that evening, Tom and Hannah walked through the town together. This time, they laughed. Really laughed. They talked about childhood memories, the silly things they did in the past, and how life had changed. Tom shared how he used to sleep on the cold floor when he couldn't afford a mattress, and Hannah told him how she had once prayed for a man who would simply be honest and kind. Tom stopped walking. "I failed you before," he said gently. "But every single day, I pray for the chance to do it right this time." Hannah looked at him with soft eyes. "You're doing better, Tom. I see it. I feel it. But love isn't just about saying sorry. It's about growing together." "I want that," Tom said. "With you. Only you." The weeks that followed brought them even closer. They began spending more time together, cooking simple meals, visiting neighbors, and attending community events. Tom helped Hannah teach a sewing class at the town's youth center. The children loved him. His patience, his jokes, and his calm spirit made him feel like a big brother to them. One afternoon, while cleaning up after class, Hannah looked at Tom and asked, "Do you miss the city?" Tom paused before answering, "No. I miss who I used to be there. But I don't miss what I became." Hannah nodded. "I'm glad you stayed." He smiled. "Me too." One Saturday morning, as they were both helping at a local health outreach organized by the church, it started raining heavily. Everyone rushed for cover. Tom quickly grabbed a plastic sheet and held it over Hannah to shield her. As they stood under the rain, holding the cover between them, soaked and laughing, Hannah looked up at him. "I used to imagine moments like this," she said. Tom blinked. "You did?" "Yes. Not the rain exactly, but being with someone who chooses me, not for what I have or what I give, but just for me." He looked at her seriously. "Then please know this, Hannah, I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life, if you'll let me." She didn't reply immediately, but her eyes said enough. They stood there in the rain, holding on to each other, letting go of the past one drop at a time. A few days later, Tom invited Hannah to visit his old shop in the city. He hadn't been back since he left, but he wanted her to see it, see the life she helped him build, and how much it meant to him now. At first, Hannah hesitated. "Why now?" she asked. "Because I want to face my past with the woman who helped me survive it," he said. She agreed. They traveled quietly, sitting side by side in his old car. The road felt long, but peaceful. When they arrived, Tom opened the shop's front gate slowly. Dust had settled on the shelves. Some boxes were still packed. But the moment they stepped inside, memories filled the air. "This is where it all began," Tom said. "But it means nothing if I can't share it with you." He handed her the keys. "What's this?" she asked. "It's our shop now," he said. "I want to reopen it with you. We can have your tailoring studio beside it. You've always been part of the dream. Now I want you in the future, too." Hannah stared at the keys in her hand. And for the first time, she didn't hesitate. She nodded. "Let's do it together." They returned to Ayatoro with a new spark in their hearts. Their bond was stronger now, not just from memories but from decisions. The people in town saw the change too. No more whispers, no more doubt. Tom and Hannah were no longer just the couple that broke up. They had become the couple that fought, healed, and found their way home. One evening, as they walked to church, Hannah slipped her hand into his. Tom stopped walking. She smiled. "You've waited long enough." And just like that, without needing a speech, without needing permission, everything changed. They were back. Together. Stronger. Wiser. Whole. The day Tom and Hannah held hands again, everything changed. Not because of a kiss, not because of dramatic words, but because that simple act meant trust had been rebuilt. The long journey of pain, healing, and patience had finally brought them to this moment. From that evening, Tom and Hannah became inseparable again, but this time, their love had depth. It wasn't just based on dreams and feelings. It was built on forgiveness, growth, and truth. Tom began working harder than ever. He traveled back to the city more often, reopening his electronics shop and cleaning the place from top to bottom. But now, he didn't go alone. Hannah was by his side. While Tom arranged the shelves and updated the stock, Hannah sat in the corner with a tape measure, planning how she'd set up her sewing space right next to him. They laughed as they worked, shared food under the store's small awning, and talked about their new goals. "I want a small fashion line," Hannah said one afternoon. "Nothing big, just unique, modest clothes for women." "And I want to run the shop like a real business this time," Tom replied. "With balance. No more chasing parties or empty things." They named the new joint shop Grace and Gears. Her tailoring business, full of grace. His electronics, full of gadgets and gears. It felt right. Soon, people in the city began to notice their comeback. Old customers returned. New ones came in. Some were surprised to see Hannah there. "I thought you left," one woman said. "I did," she replied with a smile. "But love brought me back." They weren't flashy or loud. They didn't try to impress anyone. Yet the peace between them drew others in. Even Tom's old friends noticed the change. "You've really changed," one of them said. "You don't even come to clubs anymore." Tom just smiled. "I found better music in silence, and better company in one woman." Months passed, and one morning, Tom stood outside Hannah's door with a small black box in his hand. He was nervous.
Sweating.
She opened the door, still in her scarf and morning wrapper. "Tom, what's wrong?" He went down on one knee. "Hannah, I don't have fancy rings or a planned speech or a big crowd. All I have is a heart that belongs to you. It always did. I lost my way, but now I know there's only one road I want to walk for life. Will you marry me?" Hannah froze, her hands over her mouth. Then her eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered. He stood, and they embraced. No loud music. No crowd. Just two hearts finally becoming one. The wedding was small but beautiful. A simple ceremony at the town church, with close friends and loved ones. No expensive cars. No loud celebration. Just love. As they stood before the altar, the pastor asked Tom, "Do you take Hannah to be your wife?" Tom smiled and said, "I already did in my heart a long time ago. This is just the part where I get to say it out loud." Everyone laughed softly, and Hannah wiped tears from her eyes. They exchanged vows, and this time, it wasn't just a promise, it was a second chance. A year later, on a calm Saturday morning, the cry of a newborn filled their small home. Tom stood beside Hannah in the hospital room, holding her hand tightly, tears rolling down his cheeks. "It's a girl," the nurse said. Tom looked at his daughter in awe. Tiny fingers, warm skin, a full head of soft black hair. "She's beautiful," he whispered. Hannah smiled weakly. "What should we name her?" He looked at her and said, "Grace. Because that's what brought us back together. God's grace." Hannah nodded. Perfect. Tom now had everything he once thought he needed: success, a business, a home. But now he understood what truly mattered. A woman who stood by him. A love that didn't give up. A second chance that turned into forever. As he held baby Grace in his arms, he kissed her forehead and whispered, "One day, I'll tell you the story of how your mother saved my life." And as the sun rose over their quiet town, Tom knew he was finally home. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, kindly subscribe to my channel, like, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Thanks for watching.